So a while ago I was watching Fubar Protocol's channel and he was building a pistol rack for his gun safe, and he has those rifle rods. I've seen those a while ago and I always wanted to build my own, so I took some of the ideas he had, what he did, and I made my own. So I'll show you what he did was he had steel rod and he covered them with heat shrink tubing. So that's basically what I did. So what I did was I only have one shelf in my gun safe, so I covered the bottom of it with Velcro, and I picked up strips of it at the dollar store. So you put one half of that on the bottom of the shelf. Then what I did is I got just scrap wood, and what I ended up using is, I found this the best, is pine. Now this is 2 inches by 1.5 inches. I drilled a 9/32 hole in the middle of it. What I use is 1/8 inch rod. Picked that up at the hardware store, building centers and whatnot. And what I did is, it comes at 3 foot length, so I cut 1 foot, cut it in 1 foot pieces. That seems to work the best. If you have longer, I have some I made longer because I had shorter barreled rifles, and depending on where your shelf sits. So what I did was, I took the other half of the Velcro, put it on the block, and it does have a sticky side, but I put some staples in it and just tapped those down just so it doesn't come off, and then covered the rod with the heat shrink tubing. So let me show you how that's all comes together. So cut it to the length I want. Let's take a file, just knock the edges off of it, make sure it's nice and smooth. Do that here, it's a little easier. Just gonna knock the corners off. You want it in a second, so that's good. There's no sharp edges on it. And what I do is put it back in the vise. Just leave it out 1/4 inch if that. Then take a hammer and tap it to a 90-degree angle, like that. So you end up something with that, like that. Then we take our block, like I said, 9/32 hole, so it will actually slide in. Fits nice and snug, which is good. Now what I did is, when I started doing this, I just stuck the rod in and glued it with this weld bond, and it worked pretty good. I had one slide out, but so that's why I put that 90-degree bend in it, and using this softwood, I'll show you. So we just slide it in. That's why I just kind of scratched up the surface, give the glue something to hold. So even if this does come loose, it's not going to slide out because it's got that angle on it. I just use a little bit of weld bond just to hold it in case it pops out of here. So I just slide it back into there. Grab the hammer again and tap it flush. Look at that. Wipe the excess off. Alright, then we'll let that dry. So you can see it's nice and flush. So I got a few of them here. I'll show you the one that's already done. All I do is take the other half of the Velcro, cut a strip on it. Like I said, I just staple it down so it doesn't come off when you pull on it. And then we'll put on our heat shrink tubing. Now, a little tip with that is, on Fubar's, what he did is he put the heat shrink on and he put these little rubber caps on the end of it. And when I went to get them, they didn't have any in stock. So this actually happened. I put it on and actually have my axe in it, but it works out pretty good. Is what I did was, that's the end of the rod, and I cut it a little, the heat shrink just a little bit longer. And what it did is actually folds around the end. That's why you file them good, so you don't cut through that. And what happens is it folds around the end when you heat it, and this stays soft. So this ain't gonna break off. And if you cut your rod a little too long, it won't hit the bolt face or anything. It's not gonna do any damage because It'll just hit like that. So I just cut. You don't even have to cut it that long. This the one happened to be a little bit long, just enough so it just curls over the edge, kind of like that there. Just enough so it covers the end of it. I say I use 1/8 inch rod. So all I do is, maybe I'll show you in the safe what this looks like, but basically, you know how rifle rods work. So this is a 22 inch barrel, 22 barrel, and you can see the 1/8 inches slides down. Then you just put your rifle where you want it and slide that up against the bottom of the shelf. So I'll show you what it looks like in the safe. Now I'm showing this going into, this is the 1/8 inch rifle rod. I'm showing it going down a 22 bore. This will fit 17. So if you got a 17 HMR or 17 Remington or whatever you have, this will fit down it. If you use a thicker rod, it won't. Now another thing, like when we built that pistol rack, I wanted to build something similar. Now my safe's a little bit different. I didn't put mine, he attached his to the bottom of his shelf, but I made mine kind of freestanding on the top shelf. And what he found out, which is I found out the same thing, is if you use, I think he was using, started with 3/16 rod, I think. And with that, the problem with that is it won't fit down 22 caliber barrels. So he switched to 5/32. Now 5/32 rod, at least, well, he found it out too. It's kind of hard to find. You got to either go to a welding shop or probably a metal place. And when I built my rack, I stuck with the 1/8 inch rod. Now the problem with that is, I'll show you. I'm going to move the camera again. So now to the pistol rack. What Fubar used was 5/32 rod because he did an update. Because the 3/16 with those caps on, you can't get 22 calibers over it. And if you can't find that, you could use 1/8 inch. That's what I use for the rifle rods. The problem with that is, like, this has been covered with the heat shrink again, left it a little long. Is like, this is relatively level. As you put your pistol on it, and this is my heaviest one, it kind of bends it down like that. Now, if that's all you can find, what you can do is mount it in your board. Just take this and bend it up a bit. Then when you put the pistol on, the weight of it kind of pulls it down level. You have to really kind of bend it up. You got to fool with it, but bend it up like that. Then when you put the pistol on, there you go. Kind of levels it out. So that's kind of a pain, especially if you don't have a lot of room. So if you're at the store looking or picking up some of the 1/8 inch rod, what you'll find is this stuff here. Now this, if it'll focus on it, is obviously it's threaded rod, but it's 10/34. Now, if you measure it, it's pretty close to 5/32. Well, let me show you. So I bought it, well, I actually had some, and I put some thin heat shrink tubing on it. Now I'm going to show you with this 22 because it's rifling's on, it's fucked anyways, it's got to get re-sleeved. And if you want to try that, well, short answer is don't, because it'll go on. It does fit, but it's real tight. And if I can get it to focus, there we go. The problem is that it cuts into the like, it hasn't come through, but it cuts into the threaded rod. So you don't want to put your good barrel down that. And like I said, it goes on, but it's real tight. So you only get on a little bit, then you gotta yank it back off. So there's a better alternative. So once again, got a piece of threaded rod, covered it with the heat shrink tubing. But what this is 8/32. Now I can only find this in 12-inch pieces, which is fine. So I covered it with heat shrink. Now the heat shrink I'm using, I gotta order some of this. I'll just give you the size of it. I just want to buy a pack of it from the building center. So that's the size of it. I'll have to go on eBay and get a roll of this stuff because it works pretty good. So this is 832. Threaded rod covered with the heat shrink tubing. And I'll show you. Slide the pistol on there and that's fairly level. Dips down but not too bad. That's about as thick as you can get. That's probably pretty close to 5/32. So that's what I used. I used the 1/8 inch that I found this stuff afterwards. So I got to modify my pistol rack again. So I'm not going to show you it till. But like I said, everybody's going to be a little bit different depending on your safe. But yeah, that's what I used. It works pretty good. If you want to, you can probably take a file and file down the sharpness of the threads. But I mean, I didn't, and it slides on there nice. There's still just a little bit of room for it to move it around on the bore, so it's not, you're jamming in there, so it's not going to cut into that. So if you found this useful, if you try to find an alternative to the rifle rods, or if you want to build your own pistol rack or whatnot, check out Fubar's video of his pistol rack. It gives you some ideas of how he did his. Hopefully this gave you some ideas, and post any video responses or any questions or comment, you know where to leave them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the flip side.